Do, 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 do. Hi, good evening, and welcome to the latest recording of the On the Ball podcast, number 127, in fact. Obviously, I owe all of you an apology. I'll get this out of the way before anyone joins us live. An apology for not doing last week. It was unforeseen circumstances that took us out, but we're back now, and we can make up for all that over the course of the next hour, 30 minutes. 2 hours. Who knows how long it will be? But it's exciting, obviously, nonetheless. So thanks for joining us. Get your comments and questions in. We will be making sure we clock those as we go along. Obviously, I'm now in the midst of trying to share the podcast, which I shall do. You all know the routine by now. It hasn't changed. Who have we got on tonight, I hear you say? Well, great question, if I may. Here's a great answer for you. We've got Steve Sanders, we've got Zoe Morgan, and we've got Harvey Monk making his OTB debut. There we go. We'll get to talk about what's behind him because I'm intrigued by that. So there they are. They all waved, I think, momentarily. I'm not going to unmute them now. I'm just going to carry on. I'm out of practice. It's fine. There we go. Bye, everyone. We'll see them in a bit. I'm going to share this, which is always quite a dull moment. We have got quite a bit to catch up on, obviously, due to our missing of last week, but we'll try not to get too bogged down in the stuff that's old and instead revel in a statement victory. Was it a statement victory? What is a statement victory? So many questions, but it's okay. We're going to address them all in the surrounds and the confines and the safe space that is the On the Ball Norwich City podcast, which I think you'll find is about to start when I crack open this cracking sting. Enjoy the pod. See you on the other side and get involved. Happy days. Great to be back. Hola! Welcome to edition 127 of On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast. There's more unmarked header than Sarah Swivel. I'm Michael Bailey. I cover the Canaries for The Athletic. And of course, I hope this finds you safe and well. In fact, I trust it does. On the way, Que Sera Sera. The 88-point train is still on the rails. And away the lunchtime kickoff. We will work through all that and more with our guests this week, who are Norwich numberwang chief at NCFC Numbers, also known as our very own Steve Sanders.
Good evening.
We have author of The Official History of Norwich City and purveyor of fine jumpers, with a cracker on, by the way, tonight in terms of jumpers. It is Zoe Morgan.
Good evening, Michael. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much for asking. Finally joining us tonight, we have another On the Ball debutant. We are on a roll with them. It's City fan Harvey Monk.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And there is the full house. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks to everyone watching live on the socials. And of course, thanks to everyone listening, not live, but still hugely appreciated. Now, first and foremost, apologies for last week and us not appearing. This was due to unforeseen circumstances, absolutely taking us out. But it's okay. It was a bit like numerous factors combining, akin to Millwall's opening goal on Saturday. But like the second half, we are back now, and boy, are we back. That's how I'm billing that. How are we? How is everyone, Steve? How are you?
Yeah, it was a bit like we both wanted the podcast to happen, and then
Desperately.
It didn't. A bit like Hanley and Gibson both went to clear that ball, but then between them managed not to do it. I think
if anything, we tried too hard.
Yeah, a little bit like Hanley and Gibson themselves. I'm very well, thank you. Like lots to talk about. I feel like we kind of need to redeem ourselves from being slightly downbeat last time. I feel like we'd almost given up on them, and so let's go too far the other way this time. If anything, let's get on the 88-point train again.
In fairness, the last time we did a podcast was just after the Wigan goalless draw.
Yeah, which was like the worst game in the history of football.
I think we either helped rile them gave them something to prove. You know, where they pinned us on the dressing room wall in video format, and shoved it in our faces, which is fine. That's the way we like it. Let's be honest. Zoe, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Michael. I did have a podcast-related dream last night. I was gonna share with you.
Right.
Somehow dreaming about the Michael Bailey podcast. I had a dream.
No one calls it that, but yeah, carry on.
Apart from me and my dad, which. So for some reason, we were at Carrow Road, and like a game was happening. It was maybe like half-time, pre-match. You were on the pitch with a microphone.
No one wants to see that with a microphone. Wow.
It was like you were doing a sort of promo for the next coming up version of the Michael Bailey podcast, and you were like introing who you had on and like previewing the guests. So you obviously introduced numberwang chief NCFC numbers. It's Steve Sanders. All of Carrow Road burst out into applause. Then you said I was on, and there were quite a lot of boos. And then I woke up feeling quite upset, and I was like, "What if they don't? What if they don't want me to come on?" So yeah, that's what stage we've got to. I think.
I mean, if you told me that before we started recording, I would have made sure we all applauded you when I introduced you. To be honest, I mean, there's no way I'll be allowed on the pitch. It's a complete hypothetical situation. Never mind the booing. So
that's the most unlikely thing. The booing is less likely than us being on the pitch, I would say.
We could go in those Zorbs though at half time. That would be fun.
Well, then we get cheers just for making idiots of ourselves. But you will never be booed on this podcast, Zoe. I can tell you that is official. And I'm sorry you went through that terrible experience in your dreams, but at least it's not in reality. It's not in reality.
Not so far.
Not so far, no, indeed. Harvey, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us. Resplendent in your Norwich shirt. It's a fine Norwich shirt too.
I thought I'm good, really good. I thought I'd put the shirt on for the debut. Got to wear the badge. I'm all good. Happy after a Millwall. Well, let's say a thrashing, but.
Let's say a thrashing. It was a 3-2 thrashing.
We've got to be optimistic. You know, second, we're going to hit automatics. We're going to hit.
This is the tone. Don't peek too soon, Harvey. We've already got it on the way. Don't worry. We're going to go. The only point I'll say is it's great to see you pull on the shirt. Obviously, if you start tapping the badge, we will have to audibly describe that for the listeners. But
of course,
that's fine. I can manage that. I'll do like a sound, a voiceover. Harvey tapping the badge, something like that. So we'll make sure that happens over the course of however long this podcast is. Hopefully not 90 minutes, which is almost what I said. That is wonderful. We'll get to know Harvey more over the course of his debut, of course. For those watching, I am once again wearing the same shirt I was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, feels like 2 years ago. 2 weeks ago. This is the shirt that belongs to, of course, to the French Ligue 1 club, Lens. I don't know what happened 2 weeks ago. Someone told me something once, and it stuck in my head.
Chief correspondent for Lens, aren't you, Michael?
I am. Yeah, for Lens, definitely.
Oh yeah,
Lens down the road. They sell great buns. So this is Lens. It took me 2 minutes after the podcast to just double check why I didn't do that before the podcast. I don't know, but let's not. I'm not going to. Batter myself here, but I do just want to. I'm wearing the shirt just to correct all of that, and also to say that the shirt has been lent to me by the wonderful Zeke Downs. That's Downs with an E, Downes. Zeke Downs off of Fresh Shirts UK. It's a lend, and it's lovely, and he has amazing.
Isn't that a lond?
Yes.
Sorry,
that's very good, actually. Well done. So Zeke is on Fresh Shirts UK and on Instagram and knock 'em downs on Twitter, which is a fine pun in fairness. Give him a follow. Check out if you like vintage shirts or whatever. Go to it. I'm not getting paid to do this, by the way. I just think he's doing a brilliant job, and I wanted to make the most of it. He's a lovely guy and he's doing a great job. So fair enough. And also, by the way, he's doing. Those hammer beads, he's making kits out of them, like iconic kits out of hammer beads. It's amazing. I'm so easily pleased, but so anyway, there you go. That's Zeke. We should get him on the podcast. We should spend 60 minutes plugging himself, or maybe I will. I need to take a selfie because the last one I took 2 weeks ago was really bad. So basically everything about the podcast 2 weeks ago wasn't good enough. And we're going to relive it just with different football matches. I'm talking about myself, obviously. The guests were wonderful. Right. Speaking of which, for those watching us live on your chosen social media platform, we do want to hear from you tonight. During the course of the pod, it can be on absolutely anything. Just get your comments and questions in, especially if you're on YouTube and Facebook, because I don't think we can see them on Twitter, but I'll try and check in on Twitter if we can, if anyone's still on Twitter. Has Elon Musk killed it yet? I don't know. But anyway, that's all there. And if you are listening, but not live, you can still contact us. Please do, in fact. Send us an email to Twitterkers, Twitter, @icloud.com. I'd love it to see you in the inbox. Right. After that, let's crack on, shall we, with this week's and potentially also last week's headline act. Yes, since that iconic goalless draw at Wigan, which has now probably got more airtime than it deserved, even at the time. Norwich have beaten Cardiff, they've beaten Birmingham, and they have beaten Millwall. That's awesome. They built a Millwall side that are gunning for the playoffs. This wasn't like the other two wins. This was an important win. It was at the Den, where Millwall hadn't lost since September. Steve, statement result, Klaxon?
I literally was going to say it was a statement win. Oh my God.
Yes.
I've got nothing more to add then in that case.
Thanks, Steve. Okay.
I can if you want, though. I suppose that is what I'm here for. I don't want to get booed. I don't want to get booed off for my lack of contribution. Yeah, they were really good, weren't they? And it felt, like you say, very different to the two home wins in that they beat somebody kind of worth beating. All 3 points are important, obviously, but some are better than others. And it did feel like quite a pivotal game. I think had we lost that game, and I didn't expect us to come back and win it once we went 1-0 down, if I'm honest. I think, well, if we would have been, 5 behind Millwall, 4 off the playoffs, and I think it would have felt like we were kind of had a bit of an uphill struggle to get there. But now we're in them. And we've won 3 in a row. We've got momentum. The performances are kind of, it's an awful phrase, but sort of trending in the right direction. And we have a player who's probably in as rich a vein of form as our last number 17, or as anyone has been for Norwich since our last 17 was here, in Gabriel Sara, who is getting better and better and better. And I think might even be fair to say, we may not have won any of those games had he not made telling contributions at the time that he did. So yeah, I mean, it was a real joy to watch, actually, because they really had to dig in. They weren't sort of dominant in the way that Farke teams were. They had fewer than 10 shots, and Millwall had more than 20, but they felt in control of that game. And yeah, it does start to feel like it's coming together. And you'd have to say right now, it feels like they're odds on for the playoffs, which I don't think we could have said before the start of this weekend.
I mean, before the game, I didn't expect, I thought they would come unstuck. I thought, okay, they're going to play someone quite good, which hasn't happened for a little while. Millwall probably had a point to prove after being at Carrow Road at the end of a really long week, and they played on a Friday night after Swansea, and they looked a bit shattered. I think there's still an element, speaking to a lot of Millwall fans as well, they feel that their team is going to run out of steam. They had a really tough week again, and they did actually start the game pretty well, obviously, as well as taking the lead. They were on top for the first 20, 25 minutes. I thought they were kind of worth, certainly 20 minutes, they were worth leading the game. But then they did tail off quite dramatically after that. And then there was just this huge control from Norwich for the most part. I mean, it gets said a lot, but I don't think they would have won that game in, say, early November, October time.
I think you're absolutely right. It was a cracking game, wasn't it, as well? And we haven't had many of those for quite a long time. I don't remember sort of feeling that tense towards the end of a game. Yeah, for a long time. I think it was Millwall's biggest crowd for a number of years.
27 years, I think.
Which, it was kind of, they were treated to, and it was obviously it was a big game for them as well as it was for us. It wasn't just, it didn't just matter to one team proper clash. And you're right, Steve. I think with Sarah, like Kenny said a couple of games ago, that we grow into the game when Sarah grows into the game, and that definitely happened on Saturday. Like you could see him, you can sort of almost just see him working it out. Like you think, oh, he hasn't done much for a little while, and then suddenly he's like everywhere, and he's just absolutely in charge of the whole thing. And to have sort of come out on top in a really close game, I think that will do them the world of good in terms of the rest of the season. I think obviously we're going to get 88 points, so there are going to be some games where that is not as cut and dry as you might hope all the way through the game. So yeah, I think sort of having won a game like that, when, like you say, Michael, that earlier in the season we didn't have games like that. We haven't had games like that, and it was just really, really enjoyable, really nice to see, and really exciting as well. Like I've booked my ticket for Huddersfield next week off the back of that.
Yes,
it's like, how can you miss it? What if they're really good? Absolutely. And I was just going to say, we haven't. The interesting thing, I think, since Wagner came in, is that we haven't. Once we've taken the lead, nobody has equalised, or we haven't lost any points from a winning position since Wagner came in, which I think is quite significant. And also, we're a team that when we do score, I think normally, like when we do take the lead, or even when we equalised on Saturday, it's like they suddenly realise what it takes for them to be good. Like then they can look a bit sort of lost right at the start. Obviously, we've conceded a couple of goals against Hull and then against Millwall that were a bit regrettable, I would say. But once we get that goal, we do look like a force to be reckoned with, I would say.
It was an incredible atmosphere at the Den, I thought, especially the start. The home noise was proper. And then it went a bit quiet, apart from the 3,000 Norwich fans who were outstanding and a wonderful sight as well, especially at the end. Just brilliant scenes. Harvey, what's the best bit of improvement you've seen in them in recent weeks?
Best bit of improvement?
Or favourite?
I think consistency in individual performances is probably the most notable. I think Grant Hanley gets a lot of stick week in, week out for most part of the season. I think, given what he did at Millwall, I think is all forgiven. So yeah, I think individually we've improved. I think Wagner has given the players direction, which I don't think we saw during the start of the season. Now, I'm not going to get into a contest of who's better, but yeah, I definitely think the man management has improved since Wagner has come in.
Not only that, Norwich are now corner experts, not at defending them, but certainly at scoring from them. I've always wanted Norwich to be really creative from set pieces. I've never understood why not. You just you see those teams. Oh, is it Allianspor? If I've said that right, probably not right. But there's a team in Turkey who do the most wonderful creative set free kick routines. But it's always felt like, come on, there must be so much you can do with a corner. And Steve, they did it where they all rushed in, and then Jakob Sørensen was just on the edge of the box, like, ta-da! It wasn't even that good a shot, and it went in. And then, oh my gosh, they played it short to the near post because Anel Hernandez has run to the near post. All he's done is sort of punted it into the 6-yard box. It's gone in off top. I mean, it's like, wow, what have you been doing with yourselves? Not only that, it appears to have happened in the first game where Alan Russell wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now, I don't. Honest answer, I do not know the situation. I don't know what's happened. I wouldn't really want to speculate because it could be, one thing or the other. I don't know. So maybe we shouldn't touch on that. All I will say is I know I spoke to David Wagner about Alan Russell immediately when he got the job, and his answer didn't strike me as someone where it's like, I'm looking forward to working with this guy. I've got to be honest. That wasn't the answer David Wagner gave compared to other answers on other people he gave. So it will all come out in the wash, whatever it is. Obviously, I hope it's nothing serious and everyone's well and healthy and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, still, Andy Hughes getting tapped on the back of his head by everyone because Norwich are now corner geniuses. Again, attacking wise.
I felt really sorry for Alan Russell. I mean, it was great that we're scoring from corners, but it is literally like that's the one thing you're supposed to be good at. And basically, it's like if you had someone come in next week, you started reeling off a load of stats, and you were like, "Wow, this guy's amazing." I like that's my gig though. That's what I do. So I do feel a bit. I don't know. Maybe they just like couldn't take a man wearing roll neck sweaters talking about zonal marking and and set plays seriously. I don't know, but yeah, great that they're showing a bit more creativity, and they were both like the first goal was a really clever set piece move. It genuinely was like you could see the players running in. I was looking at Adam Eder, who was kind of almost holding off the Millwall player from dashing out, and you could see that was the tactic, and it was the first one they'd had in the whole game, wasn't it? Like you say, it wasn't a particularly incredible finish, but doesn't matter. Sometimes you just got to get it on target, right? And apparently it was better than the ones he was doing in training. So I'm interested to see what those were like.
And why didn't they sort of go, is this the right thing to do in a game situation? Or like, oh no, it'll be okay. Jakob will just nail it in a natural, which he did, in fairness. I mean, Gary Rowett was pretty disappointed with how his team reacted to both set pieces, which I can especially understand with the first one. But
yeah, I mean, but I do think like Sarah's delivery from set piece. This sounds like the Sarah fan show, but it's generally quite good. So I just wonder,
hey, Sarah.
If we have really the two targets are Gibson and Hanley, right? And Gibson has never scored for us, and Hanley will regularly get on the end of them, but it just sort of bounce off him and into the stand. So maybe they've just worked out that actually that as a tactic from attacking set pieces is not the way to go.
Why not?
It would be good if they start. They've got so many like lined up that they start to have more and more elaborate signals for like what they're going to do to show that that's the corner they're going to take. Start tapping their head, rubbing their belly,
Mobot.
Yeah,
or both at the same time.
Yeah.
One arm one way means one thing, and the other arm the other way means the other thing.
And all the players just stood there trying to work out which one that means.
In fairness, I mean, I don't know the coding, but it does seem that the options are basically one arm up or two arms up. I mean, that's not a wide range of odds. It's like one in swing out swing out. It's like, well, you're left footed. But yeah. Anyway, that's interesting.
Can we also point out that Jakob Sørensen was on corners and standing over free kicks like he was going to hit them, which that's a development. I mean, I know he's the utility man for everything, but I didn't think he was going to be for corners as well.
I mean, he probably was being self-deprecating in what he said to Chris Gorham after the game, because like we all remember his Marseille and Birmingham goals. I mean, they were epic strikes. So you think if he can hit a moving ball like that, he can probably hit one that's sort of still.
I mean, I don't remember his Marseille goal, to be honest. I wasn't even aware that we'd played Marseille.
Marseille was it was a good game, very good game. It was very much a game where I probably had to have a reality check probably 24 hours afterwards, going, actually, we are playing in the Championship this season. But yeah, it was good. It was good.
Love it. Well, indeed. I like Marseille second in the French top flight. So, I mean, we're basically the French champions. So that's good. To be curmudgeonly, can I be curmudgeonly? That's like my new role. No, I can't. No, you're right, but I'll try. I mean, I get the Grant Hanley. What a clearance off the line. I mean, he just sort of ran back and was on the line, and he was in the right place. So I don't know. Like I've played as a defender in football, but I wouldn't necessarily think this is the best bit of defending I've ever made, because I literally chose the middle of the goal and that's where the shot went. I mean, it's great.
You have done that?
A brilliant moment.
Would you have done that as a defender playing football?
I'm not a professional footballer. But the point is, how many times does Grant Hanley run behind Angus Gunn if there's a shot coming in and he can get there? It's like all the time, isn't it? So like, I'm being curmudgeonly, as I said. It's still a great moment because it earned Norwich a point. And Jakob Sørensen basically said, he then back passed it to Angus Gunn. And he was like as if he was saying it should have been a free kick, which is funny. And then on Gabriel, and then on Gabriel Sara, like he loves his song. I love that he's got a song. The lyrics work perfectly. Why can't anyone sing the tune? It's like in a funny key.
Well, I said last time it's too mournful. It makes me feel bleak. And I heard another set of fans.
Zoe.
but another set of fans singing a song. It might have even been the Man City fans singing bits of Bernardo Silva song, I think, to the same tune. And it did not sound like the way we sing it at all. Like it didn't feel bleak. It did not feel bleak.
I don't know, but like Voulez-Vous by ABBA is in a completely different key. But I feel like if people individually sung it, they'd be like, Voulez-Vous, do, 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 and it would be like perfect. And then it's like you've stuck 2,000 people from Norfolk together, and all of a sudden it's in this weird, like, I can't even recreate it. It's just not the same song. It doesn't matter. It's a lovely.
I feel
song.
like this is close to close to Alan Partridge territory. You're like, stop getting ABBA wrong.
It's. But it is. No, that is it. And I know it's, yeah, I know it might be the musician in me. But in fairness, can I just say, in fairness, when I was like 16 and in the Lower Berkeley and starting chants, I would have still had this gripe, and I still would have been going around to all the people around me going, good Lord, people, sing it properly. That's, and then they would have either laughed or nutted me. It's fine.
Yeah, I think you're probably safer doing it behind a podcast mic than you would be in the Lower Berkeley. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, his performances have improved the more we sing the chant. So I don't know if.
As in sing the chant wrong. You're not wrong. You're right.
He's playing well though, right?
Yeah.
And actually, the second goal, the corner came from his like amazing 30-yard shot. I sort of like, oh yeah, that does sometimes happen, doesn't it? Players take long-range shots that sometimes arrow into the corner. It feels like we just haven't had that much.
It's been so long. I think
yeah,
you'd have people in the stands and they'd be going, oh, we just pass it around the back, pass it around the back, pass it around the box. We want to tap it in. And I think we kind of developed that narrative for a few years. And then this year it seems to have completely changed, where we're not afraid to have a shot from outside the box this year, which is actually quite refreshing.
It's interesting you say that, because I got asked to comment on the Athletic match day discussion about whether Norwich had started shooting more from distance since David Wagner came in, or whether that was just sort of a bias, in terms of, oh, look, we're so much better now, we're even doing that, which is a fair point. Gabri Sara's shot, by the way, before that corner, I forgot it was just before that corner. It was incredible. You've such a brilliant save to tip it over. And I don't know if that's true. I was trying to remember if Dean Smith was, because he used to say a couple of things. I can't remember what they were, but there was one, I think he wanted the team to find a better shooting opportunity rather than taking it too soon. I think that was something that he'd constantly asked for. But then I also feel like he was also saying, don't wait for the perfect shooting opportunity, And so then I got a bit hung up on which of those he was actually asking. I might be misquoting him on both, to be honest.
You might not be the only one that got confused.
Well, I don't know. That could be my memory failing me as well. I have been writing a piece. It's on the Athletic Tomorrow plug. That's Tuesday, about Gabby Sara's goal, because it was wonderful, and where it ranks. So I thought I'd ask you guys, where does it rank? Goal of the season, maybe, as I tweeted, because I couldn't remember any other goals in that moment. But I've since remembered some, although I actually forgot one of them as well. So my poor brain. Go on, Zoe, what do you reckon?
Well, are we saying it was better than Nunez's goal?
I don't know. Are we? Are you?
I'm not saying
I'm
that.
not. I'm not saying that.
No?
I don't.
No.
No one.
No.
And we haven't even talked about that goal on this podcast yet.
No,
and
we
feels
haven't
like
had
it
a-
needs some. It feels like it needs some time discussing it, because that was amazing.
Give it a 15-minute slot.
Let's bring it in now then, because you're right. We weren't around for the Birmingham game, sadly, or the podcast for it anyway. It was amazing to see it in person. Obviously, I was right behind it. It was an amazing strike. The more you listen to it, the more you hear that sound in the crowd, which is like, oh, very excited. But if someone can recreate that sound, that would be better. Your goal of the season then, Zoe?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was watching on the TV, and it made me sort of make some very weird kind of guttural noises in my throat and say, oh my God. Like, I just when you don't know what is about to come out of your mouth because you're just so shocked that happened. I feel like that is, that's what happened with that goal. It was so good. And Nunez is it was just so nice to see him doing something really fabulous like that, because I think we've all sort of had it in the back of our minds, probably since the Panenka penalty, that he's capable of doing some quite weird and wonderful things. And it was nice to see that happen. And he just looked so happy throughout that game as well. It was just really nice.
I'd forgotten about the Panenka penalty. That was against Birmingham as well, wasn't it? So maybe there's something about playing against them that brings out the best in him. The other thing about that, he cleared the ball on the volley from some kind of set piece like 5 minutes before that, and he just connected absolutely brilliantly with that clearance as well. So I don't know, he was just finding it beautifully off his right foot all evening. But that to me was that's going to take some topping for goal of the season. Don't get me wrong, Sarah's goal on Saturday was brilliant, but I don't know. I think if you can lamp a volley coming out of the air with that level of technique, and it was one of those that it didn't even. I don't think anyone thought it was going in until it went in. There was that kind of stillness, and then suddenly it was like, wow, what has just happened there? Because Roddy didn't move. So yeah, I think just as a moment, it tops it for me.
Oh, okay, this is interesting. How about you, Harvey?
I tend to agree. I mean, it was down my end of the stadium, so I am going to be biased. I mean, from where I am, you see him hit that, and you've seen him probably hit one or two in previous games at home, and you've gone, oh, it's just wide probably, or it's just over. And so you aren't really expecting it, and he hits it, and it goes in, and then you almost, okay, now I can celebrate. Now I can actually, whoa, that's, that's incredible. But admittedly, that was the one game that I missed all season.
Oh no!
So
which does tie in. I haven't. Well, I can imagine it's heartbreaking. It does tie into the clip that from our last podcast, which had me, Steve, and Zoe all on it, talking about the big moment and someone volleying home. I haven't got the clip to hand, Steve. I couldn't rip our own video clip. I need someone with more time and more digitally aware than myself. But basically we predicted it, Steve. We are the predictors. Well, psychic.
And not only did we predict it, didn't we say we'd just take one, and now it feels like we've got two, because I think Sarah's goal comes in that category as well. We didn't specify that we would also see a goal where someone span and hit one in off the bar with their left foot, but we did say we haven't had a moment yet, and now it does feel like we've had two great moments.
Well, there were almost two moments in the Millwall game, what with Sarah's goal and Hanley's bit of defending, which may or may not have been an accident. According to who you speak to.
It wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident. I suppose it's a bit like a routine saying that gets blown up a little. It's the narrative is Grant Hanley saved the point, and that's great, and he is great. I love him to bits. Just like, that's good that he was there when it hit him. I don't know, like a last ditch tackle would have felt. Oh, anyway, I'm digging myself a hole. I'm probably on my own here, but
I think it was that awareness to, before the shot was even hit, to go from where he was standing to think, oh my God, I need to be on the line here to cover in case this goes in. I mean, to do that in that moment and have that clarity of thought, I don't think that was totally random, but maybe you're right, and any Sunday League defender could have done it, and you'll have to put it to Grant next time you speak to him.
I think people are putting words in my mouth here. I don't think that's quite wise.
Never.
And obviously, I think Gabby Sarah's goal was goal of the season as well, because I've obviously been watching it a lot today, and the technique involved in it, in adjusting his body, in the way he took the first touch, and the angle he is when he hits the ball and to keep it under the bar is remarkable, and not really done justice by XG. The other things I learned from this search was Marcelino Nunez's free kick from Hull was miles out. It was so far out. And the other thing I got, so the EFL have I've just lost it, and I had it all saved. The EFL have put up their, you can vote for the goal of the weekend across the EFL. There are five contenders. Number 2 is from, I think it's Jack Sowerby, who plays for Crawley. I recommend everyone sort of go and look at it. It's a great goal. It's versus Crawley. So is that Northampton? That looks like Northampton, having never been to Six Fields. It looks like them. Let's say it's Northampton. I can't recognize the badge. It's too small. Doesn't matter. But he is literally in League Two. Ball comes up high, 30 yards in the air, comes down, he volleys it into the top corner. If anything, it's better. It's a bit more central, but it's like directly in the corner. I was a bit like, oh, he's done that.
So what you're saying is that Hanley did something that a non-league player could have done, and Nunez did something that a League Two player could have done.
I'd like to see you put that to Grant Hanley yourself, Michael.
He would
conversation.
He would give me the same reaction as to whenever I've said something nice to him, which is just mock me and look like he's going to punch me in the face. But I think that's just how he looks.
He didn't react to the clearance at all, though.
It's like every day, wasn't it? It's like, yeah, I've gone back. It's all right.
I'm just in the way, wasn't I?
So I feel like I'm going to... Just to clarify, it's a great moment, okay? It's a really important moment. It won the game. Great. Just...
Goal line clearance of the season, at least. Give him that.
Oh, can you think of any others? I can't.
Well, precisely.
And we did get to see all of the defenders hugging each other really angrily, which is fast becoming one of my favourite things in football when defenders celebrate defending, because it's very different to a goal celebration, obviously, but it seems to involve looking as stern as possible and sort of slamming yourself against other very tall men. And looking quite aggressive, and then it's quite touching. I think it makes me quite emotional.
It's a good point, though, isn't it? Because when you score a goal, there's an outpouring of joy or relief, or like, "Rah, this is amazing!" And then if you do something really important defensively, you have to sort of be like, "Yes, that was resilient. Yes, we repelled them." That's just naturally in terms of the men's game. I wonder if it's similar in the women's game.
It's also like your body has to be as solid as you are a defender. It's like that moment where you cannot have any flex in your body at all, but you are celebrating.
Just going back to Grant Hanley, I think my problem is, and maybe this is just me. Problem. I'm sorry. Maybe it's my problem. I've got stuck in my head. I've just pinpointed it. I've got stuck in my head one of the goals against Burnley, where Grant Hanley ran back to get back on the line and then sort of tripped over and the ball went through him. And I'm just like, so it's
not that easy.
So it's not that easy. So in fairness, I don't know. Anyway, that's my considered professional opinion.
Before we move on, I think one of the...
Can we move on?
Yeah, well, unless you want to go back to Grant Hanley again, it's obviously tormenting you.
Hello.
But I think Wagner deserves, quite a lot of credit for the team he picked for that.
Well, you say that.
No. Yeah, well, I'll say what I'm going to say, and then you can take it all away from him.
There's lots of managers winning games all across football. They stick out their teams. They trick. What does it matter?
And actually, that may well be true. And on another day, we could have slaughtered him for this. But I do think bringing in, moving Sarah from his position to take out Nunez, who had been playing quite well, and bring in Jakob Sørensen to make us more resolute. I could have seen that backfiring, and clearly it didn't. And likewise, Ida, I thought, although didn't score, led the line pretty well in his 2 games. So the easy thing to do would have been to stick with Marquinhos and play Onel on the left, and basically pick the same team he did against who do we beat? Cardiff. That's probably what Daniel Farke would have done. I think he used to like changing a winning team too much. But I think to adapt in that way and for it to work, because the players he brought in all played well. So he's in one of those runs a little bit like Paul Lambert used to go on, where everything seems to be coming off for him at the moment. But I definitely think he deserves credit for changing things around and getting it right.
100%.
Excellent.
100%.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Well, I've written here, joke about the 88-point train.
It's not a joke.
It is not a joke.
Not a joke.
Can we have t-shirts made?
Yes. We just put 88 on the back of the Lons shirts. I'm an idiot, but I did sort of look up at the table a little bit and think, and I think I even said it in my video verdicts, like, 5 points behind Middlesbrough, and you got to play Middlesbrough. So if you beat Middlesbrough, you're only 2 points behind them. That is a catchable gap. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, well, Middlesbrough will end up probably catching Sheffield United. Well, they're 4 points ahead of Middlesbrough. So then, could we finish second? Harvey already thinks we can.
I do indeed.
Which goes against everything I've said for the last 6 months, by the way. I feel like an absolute fraud.
Also me, completely. I think we've gone on the run at the right time. And I think if we can continue the run at the right time, which is now, then there's no reason why we can't go automatics and do what Aston Villa did a few seasons ago when they were in a similar position where they were low and a certain Jack Grealish came along and helped them up the table. Maybe Gabriel Sara becomes that player that helps us up the table. But yeah, no, I think it's on the cards. I think we can dream as fans and as pundits. And we've got a big game at 12 o'clock, Sunderland. And that's another big test. I think once we get past that, we'll know a little bit more as to where we may be dreaming and hoping to go.
Yes. 11 games isn't many. Go on, Steve.
I'm just going to say we've still got to play second, third, and fourth. So
Exactly.
I would say
we good point. That to beat Sheffield United, it's only 6 points, and you'd say 6 points is catchable. Oh my God, it's happening!
Chaos.
We're on.
We are causing chaos, and everyone's going to be scared of us. That's what's happening.
These podcasts have fluctuated from we're going up to we're useless. So I fully expect us now. We've done all this to lose 3-0 at home to Sunderland, and
that's
we'll
fine.
be mid-table
Because we were right then for months, so that's fine.
We've had so many takes, Michael. It's impossible for us to be wrong at this point. We've every possible eventuality we've definitely covered. I'm sure over the course of the season.
Isn't that life? Really? Isn't it? When you think about it.
So true. So true.
Well, speaking of life, what have other people said about Norwich City life?
Well, Andy Jordan says this, and I feel like it does need to be covered because we haven't really mentioned him much yet. Hernandez deserves huge praise.
I should have done this after things we're not going to talk about. But yes, you're right. We haven't talked about it much yet.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I forgot we hadn't done that bit yet. But let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What a guy.
I will probably write this week, but it seems like an absolute no-brainer not to just give him a new contract. Totally. What's the reason not to? Anyone got a reason not to give Anel Hernandez a new contract?
If your heart is made of stone, then you would not give him a new contract.
Could be Wagner's way of keeping me in form, potentially, towards the back end of the season, and then providing him one. I don't know. Maybe that's a cryptic way of looking at it, but yeah.
What a cruel man you are, Harvey, but also it's a great point. Let's not give him a new contract yet in case he tails off and gets comfortable. I love it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter if he has one now, does it? You could give him one in June. Although he then potentially want Premier League wages. Am I right?
Exactly.
Am I right? He's been brilliant, hasn't he? Now, Steve, just to add some proper context. it's like, I mean, I honestly think, I think for me, even if Gabi Sara, who keeps playing the way he's playing, he still won't have been consistent over the longest period compared to Anel, who I think, from like early in the season through like the darkest points this season, he's always given everything. He's my player of the season, I think.
Anel is?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, interesting. Plenty of time to discuss that. I think he's been great.
You don't agree, do you?
I don't agree that he's the player of the season. I think he started 10 games this season or something like that. And I'm not sure you can give. It's not really? A lot. I think he started about 4 under Smith. But the thing is, his end product now is so much better. You can see how much better he's being coached now. Pretty much for all the players, he's about as evident as it's possible to get. And he's been given a proper run in the side. I still maintain that Dean Smith would just say to Hernandez, go on, have a run at them with 25 minutes. Going to be like, they just have a run and see what happens. Whereas I do feel like he's being coached. And that third goal for Sara, I know it's slightly behind him, but you see him look up, pick out Sara, play that pass rather than just smash it in as hard as he can, which, let's be honest, used to be the Hernandez way.
Mr. No end product is no more.
exactly. The end product is there, right? And 4 assists in his last 5 games, with the own goal not apparently even counting towards that, so effectively 5. It shows just how much better he's got. So full credit. If he carries on this trajectory, give him the Barry Butler right now.
Oh, you do agree with me after all that.
Kinda.
He seems to be transforming into a thinking man's footballer, which is a development I hadn't seen coming. If we're quite honest, yeah, he does seem to just be genuinely like considering what he does when he gets the ball now. Which, he's been around for a long time yet, and I don't think that it's ever seemed like that before. So to have suddenly got that out of him, I think is a remarkable achievement, to be honest.
Who would we give? Who are the player of the season candidates alongside him? Just while I check this. Talk amongst yourselves.
I'll let Harvey take that one.
Go on, Harvey.
Sarah's got to be in contention.
Yeah.
I feel like a fan's favourite from the chance is probably Gunn for some of his performances as a fan favourite. And then probably Hernandez. I think Hernandez is definitely in there.
See? It's not outlandish, is it? It's not outlandish. By the way, just to say, Anel Hernandez has played in 32 of the matches this season, but he's started 12. So that's potentially the point. But that said, I reckon on per 90, he's like, probably the best player in the world. I would imagine. I've looked, and that's not entirely correct. But he's right up there.
The best player in the world, that might be outlandish. But here's a thing on Onel. When he started in league games, just having a look, I think of the 12 he started, we've won 10, drawn 1, and lost 1. It's not bad, is it?
Basically, Emmy.
So he's basically he's been here the whole time. I knew Emmy. He was right under our noses.
It's not the player of the season's fault if he's not played, is it? Let's be honest. Can't blame him for that. Well, anyway, I think we've discussed that. Better than Ryan. I mean, Ryan, bless Ryan Livermore. I think, was it Ryan who said it was going to be Danel Sinani?
He did. And I said Cantwell. So,
sorry,
a couple of comments, which we do need to just on this. Sam W says player of the season, the mayor.
Definitely top 3.
McLean, player of the season contender. I think it's wide open, right? I mean, Josh is still, I know he hasn't done as much lately, but he's definitely
Max.
Still. And Max, yeah. So open.
Grant
Anyone's.
Grant Hanley would be in my top 3.
That clearance.
Did you hear me, Grant? Excellent. Well, that's done that. Let's quickly move on to things we are not going to talk about. Obviously, Anel's own potential new deal. Give him a new deal. Although, keep him hungry. Just, store the deal up. Something. Jakob Sørensen back in the team, but I think we've sort of addressed that. He's great and lovely. As he told us at full time on Saturday, he was buzzing. Although he sort of said, I'm buzzing. Which is, he was buzzing. Gianni Infantino was at the football match, the president of FIFA.
Did you get a word with Gianni?
I had to write a story about that, which is good. So he was there. He left at halftime. He did not see the greatest goal scored this season by a Norwich player. So yeah, but he was there. That was good of him. They didn't vote in concussion substitutions in the morning, which seems a bit more, weird. But there we go. We're not going to talk about it, and generally not. We also had the news today that former Norwich City chairman Robert Chase has passed away at the age of 84. He was chairman at the club between 85 and 1996. He was chairman of the football club under some of its greatest successes. He did things that meant that the club survived financial strife a few years down the line because he, made sure the club bought land that they could then sell and things like that. He also probably played some sort of part in Norwich getting into that financial situation in the first place, and obviously was hugely unpopular at times as well. So, but clearly a huge figure in Norwich City history. So that's sad news. He was 84, Robert Chase. And what I also wanted to mention was that Norwich City women are going to play at Carrow Road. Our long-standing, really vociferous campaign of abusing people until it happened has worked.
Were you mentioned in the press statement when they said that it was happening? They said
Only
after.
potentially as they wrote it, going, yes, this, Michael. But great news. Norwich City women are going to play at Carrow Road. That's on Sunday, the April of the 16th. Is it Ashford? I did mean to double check who they're playing. That doesn't matter. It'll be their biggest day, but that's not important. The important thing is that Norwich City women are playing at Carrow Road. It's great that no one now thinks that they're going to cut up the pitch. And it's great that they are now deemed, psychologically ready to play at Carrow Road. They are not my views. They are the views I heard in the last 18 months. So let's be thankful that we've moved on from there and Norwich City women can play at Carrow Road, which will be really exciting. And I will be there, although I may be jet lagged from my holes.
Of course.
Yes. I'm not going to talk about that either.
Plenty of time to talk about that. Now that we've that campaign has met a successful end, I would like to start another one, which is can we just remove the PA system from Carrow Road? Because I really enjoyed not having
Well, they
the
have.
PA system. Yeah.
They've just done it.
Can we make it a permanent thing? I've nothing against the announcers, who I think do an excellent job, but no music before the game. No goal music. I can live without the goal music. Tell me if these are controversial takes here. I'm quite happy. I thought it actually, it was helped that we were good and we won the game, but I thought it improved the atmosphere. Anyone else? Anyone else agree with that?
I was a little confused.
Who did me?
Harvey was sitting there going,
I'm sitting there going,
next?
When's the players coming out? Like, I don't normally look at the watch or look at the time. I just know by the song when they're coming out. So I'm like expecting the song to be there. And I'm like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, thing comes up on the screen, and then they walk out, and I'm like, it's now. Okay. And even Tampa Bay was a bit odd as well. It just happened.
It was really weird that they carried on with it without.
Yeah,
they've obviously got rounds to get through. It's a very important competition, but to do it with absolutely no context or commentary was quite surreal.
Yeah,
it's difficult to follow subs. Subs were quite difficult to follow. And I think the only time I missed music was right at the end, when it was just sort of felt like we should have a bit of a celebration kind of. Obviously people were happy, but it just felt like a little bit of music would have helped. But yeah, the rest of it I can do without, I think.
I might have to water down this campaign, because actually both made some good points there. But I think it's just the unnecessary. I'm going to sound like the sort of person who thinks that young people are got it too lucky, and I don't know, Sam Smith should just wear chinos or something. But I do think that there's too much the EDM before that's just basically drilled into our brains. We could definitely do without it. If I don't hear David Guetta again at Norwich City, I'm fine with that,
BAFTA legend, by the way, David Guetta. You make some great points there, Steve. Great points, as do you too. Sorry, it was interesting. That you still had the guy come up and present the community hero. He was a community hero, so he still put the ball on the plinth. He was still being filmed, but we have no idea who he was. So I feel sorry for the guys who it was their big moment, and it maybe didn't happen. But I don't know if everyone fully appreciates how unique that situation was, because I can't think of any football match I've been to where there's been no PA. I've covered games at Lowestoft, Norfolk football, and I suppose I've played in games where there's been no PAs because there was no crowd. There's no one there. But in terms of anything sort of above level 8, 9, there's always a PA playing music and someone talking.
I do wonder how close they were to having to call it off, because obviously security issues. Exactly. This is very sort of health and safety of me. But I did say when we first got in, it's well, how do they tell us if anything goes wrong?
That's a great point. What would have
totally blown a hole in my campaign massively.
If there'd have been a fire alarm, was the fire alarm system still working? I don't know. What happened if Mr. Carrow turned up? How are we going to know he's gone? He might still be there. I don't know.
True. Yeah, anyway. All of these are good points. And Neil Luther says Tetty was there and he couldn't be introduced to the fans.
That was sad.
I see.
It's a real shame, that. Real shame.
Why do you hate Tetty, Steve?
This is backfired horribly. I didn't think it through. I just don't like the loud music. That's all it is.
So unprofessional, Steve. You never catch anyone else on this podcast doing that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to Tetty and health and safety lovers like Zoe.
Well, I tell you what, it's probably an opportune moment to move on. Unless anyone has anything else they don't wish to talk about. No. Okay. It's like the PA system just cut out there. Let's move on, shall we, to this is almost fantasy football. And of course, one thing we have learned since the last podcast is of the sad passing of commentary legend John Motson, the man who I intrinsically linked with Norwich City's success because he commentated on the UEFA Cup ties Norwich made progress from, and Barry Davies did the opposite. So I was always like, John Motson. So here he is. Rest in peace, John Motty. And we'll still be continuing to play him until someone complains. So it's time for this.
This is almost fantasy football.
What else sings fantasy football like Sunderland at Carrow Road in what was the cup? The Friendly Cup? Is it the Friendly Cup?
Friendship Trophy.
Friendship Trophy. That will be battered, dented, and probably not at the ground, but they're still going to play for it, which is exciting. It's a 12 o'clock Sunday kickoff. What else could be more conducive to a huge vociferous atmosphere as David Wagner wants, Zoe?
Well, if you see the Sky Sports promotion of their weekend EFL fixtures, it culminates with them saying, and on Sunday, where promotion chases Sunderland, visit Norwich. I'm not really sure sets quite the scene.
Pin that up on the dressing room.
Yeah.
Visual format.
Yeah, there's not going to be enough room. We're already on there, aren't we?
When do
The
you reckon
entire transcript of this podcast is
Oh yeah, good point. Just next to it, ignore the noise. Yes, good point.
I think it's more exciting a prospect than they make it sound. It's a shame it's at noon on a Sunday, which is not conducive to a great atmosphere being had by all. Feel desperately sorry for the Sunderland fans having to come down from Sunderland at a ridiculous time of probably the middle of the night rather than early morning.
Having just lost 5-1 at home to Stoke. I mean, will many of them make the journey? I don't know.
Well, special shout out to Alex Neil, who obviously got a lot of stick on Saturday. They played him getting off the team coach and getting booed on the EFL show, and his face was just a delight because he could just not stop smiling, which was very, very funny.
He used the word hatred in his post-match press conference. Like, yeah, there's been a lot of hatred directed at me, which I don't care. I don't care. He only had good things to say about everyone at Sunderland, but was absolutely delighted to shove it in their faces.
He seemed to be very much enjoying it. So yeah, I think this is probably tempting fate, isn't it? Because they're coming off an absolute hiding off a team that they would not want to have been thrashed by. We just had one of our best sort of results of the season for many reasons. I think we've got to say we're favourites, but that's obviously you just don't know what's going to happen. They absolutely thrashed us at the Stadium of Light, and we managed to win somehow.
Well,
it could be a really good game, another really good game. Hopefully,
let's hope the PA system is working, because Sunday 12 o'clock kickoff and no PA system, Steve, might be a bit much for everyone. I found it fascinating that David Wagner immediately, in a post-match press conference from one game, was immediately talking about how important Sunday was, how the atmosphere needs to be good. He was getting that message straight out. It's obviously gone through his head. That is a really important thing, that has to be a transition from the great game and performance and result at Millwall to Carrow Road, or they need it because it's going to be a really important game. Steve?
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the way to look at this kind of period of the season, isn't it? And that boring cliche of the next game is the most important one, but it kind of is. So, and I think Wagner will know that it's going to be tough. Haven't double checked this, but I think Sunderland are quite good away from home this season. I certainly can remember them picking up some good away wins.
Let me just check. Carry on, Steve.
Yeah, I feel like they've had a couple of big ones. They've won 3-0 really well at someone.
Great.
So, but yeah, that's the kind of analysis that you get on the Ball podcast. So I think we'll win though. Like without wanting to sound too blasé, I wasn't confident against Millwall, but I do think one thing I am pretty sure about is they concede quite a few and score quite a few. So I think it will be quite an open game that could play into our hands a little bit. So I back us to get a 4th win in a row, and I think if we do, then Sunderland aren't going to be chasing promotion for much longer, I would suggest.
88 points. Woo woo. Go on, Harvey.
I'm quite nervous for Sunday, but then I'm a fan. So a team coming off an absolute hiding normally gets their act together in training over that next week or so, usually. It's a difficult one because it's a really difficult one.
Come on.
No, for me, I think from a Norwich perspective, I think we'll be fine. If we start the same way as we normally do in the first half, which is normally better than the second half, then I think we'll be okay. Let's just hope. Is Alex Pritchard still fit? I just hope he doesn't come back to haunt us.
He scored the goal on
Saturday.
He did, yeah. He
Yeah,
scored
so
the goal.
There you go. Statement. Hope Alex Pritchard doesn't come back and haunt us.
Well, I love
Patrick
Alex
Roberts
Pritchard.
too.
Patrick Roberts as well. Oh my goodness!
God,
and
blimey.
oh no, not that. Lovely interview with Alex Pritchard from when he was out of contract from a while ago, talking a lot about Norwich. It's good interview. Really enjoyed it. So I like Alex Pritchard. I'm allowed to say that because he spoke to me. Sunderland won 3-0 at QPR, Steve, but they're not very good anymore. And they won 3-0 at Reading earlier in the season, which I think was a really good performance at the time. But again, they're not very good anymore.
And they are 6th in the table on away form. So
they are. Who's 5th?
Norwich City.
Yes, that's right.
It's one of the easier quizzes we've done on this.
Norwich's home form. Where would that feature in the Championship home form table? Anyone want to have a guess? Or could do higher or lower? Harvey, where are Norwich in the home form table in the Championship?
Lower than. I want to say we're lower.
Well, you have to
10th.
state a number, and then we have to move on.
Oh, okay. So okay, fine. All right. 10th.
Lower than 10th. Zoe?
13th.
That is lower than 10th, but it's not right. Higher than 13th, Steve, who's probably looking at the table in front of himself.
Well, I hadn't thought to do that, actually. Well, I've got a 50-50 chance. I will say 11.
Is correct. That's why he's the stats numberwang guru.
But obviously, nothing matters apart from what's happened since Wagner's come to take charge of Norwich. And I don't think anyone's got more points apart from Middlesbrough and Burnley since Wagner's been at the wheel.
Does rather bode the question, why did it take until Boxing Day? But we'll save that one for another day. If I was being curmudgeonly, I would fear the 0-0, the low block, the Sunderland arriving, going, right, boys, what we need to get here is a clean sheet. Forget the rest. Massive low block of 12 players because they've smuggled one onto the pitch. But that won't happen because we are on the 88-point train. So it's going to be at least 6. So that's my prediction. Anyone else want to make any great predictions? Steve?
5-0.
Oh, fewer than me, but that's fine.
I suppose I can go greater than that. I could say 6-0, but I don't genuinely believe that. Well, I've already said.
Did anyone think Liverpool would beat Manchester United 7-0 yesterday? Hey, no. Anything's possible, Steve. Anything.
I also think that he might go back to the home lineup and possibly leave Lungi out and put Nunez back in and play Sarah deeper. So, i.e., the team that played against Cardiff. I keep forgetting him. So yeah, I think we might go back to that. But I do think Timu will start again,
as he should.
Should. Yeah.
Harvey, what's your prediction mind?
2-1. And I feel like every season we play the game of guess the lineup. I think this year is very difficult under Wagner. One player does well, they don't seem to play the next week. Cough, Marquinhos or Tazoles. Seems to be some weird tactical. I'm not really sure whether Marquinhos wasn't training very well or I don't know. But I thought he.
Oh, he's having a dig.
Well.
He's having a dig. The greatest victory we've seen all year.
I thought he played pretty well. But it's one of those. It's an option for him. And I wouldn't like to be Wagner at the moment. We've got too many players that seem to be coming into form now. And as long as he keeps getting it right, then I'm me at home telling him he should play Marquinhos more is not going to help anyone.
It's all right, Harvey. He's not watching. Don't worry. But we're all on the 88-point train.
100%. Wagner's at the wheel.
Wagner is at the wheel of the 88-point train.
If we do get 88 points, when we do get 88 points, will that be enough? Likely to be enough for second? Will we need 88 points to get automatics?
Are you saying that the train could take a couple of stops off and shed some load and still manage to finish in second place? Well, I mean,
I'm saying the train could get in the station at record time. We could finish third and still not go up. I mean, is that a possibility? That's all I'm asking.
It feels like something I would need to analyze. But I mean, Sheffield United are on 64 points now. So, I mean,
that's eight wins from their last 12 games, I suppose.
12 games to go. So, yeah. It feels like there's going to be a few low tallies around. But yeah, possibly 90 normally guarantees you automatic promotion, doesn't it? So
it will this season.
But 80, I think from memory, there have been some lower totals you can get, sort of towards 86 or whatever, maybe even lower, and probably still scrape in. It just depends. If you ended up with a situation, they said, getting completely ahead of himself on the 88-point chain. If you ended up in a situation where, Norwich win all their games, Middlesbrough win all their games, and then Sheffield United are winning all their, but not enough, then, you can sort of get into those 80s and, yeah, maybe all right. But then it could be 90. I don't know the answer. Why am I even talking? I don't know. That's why we're going to play football, to find out. And on that note, is there anything else anyone has said watching? We should get into Steve.
Spoon Meat would like a link to Zoe's jumper.
Obviously, I imagine she's incredibly young and relevant. But yeah, it's from Hush.
Oh, is that a shop?
You can find it in John Lewis or online. Yeah, so always good in the sale. It's good for the sale.
Another plug. There we go.
Hashtag ad.
Emla Hoko would like to know what Harvey's picture is, and apologies for these questions for people listening to the podcast.
Well, no, we can explain it because I was going to ask this. It's a framed shirt, is it? It's got the Norwich City. Yeah. It looks like the sign that would be on the side of a steam train that's above the tunnel. Cambridge.
The 88-point steam train.
Yeah,
indeed.
What is it, Harvey?
It's a match-worn Max Aaron shirt from when we played Manchester United. I'm going to plug Hernandez again. It was when he scored and famously decided to take his shirt off, spin in front of the United fans, running around with his tongue out. It was quite a scene.
Was it 3-1 or 2-1 at the time?
It was 3-1, I think it was. It was the game
what a moment that was.
Tim Krul saved 2 penalties, I think it was, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Rashford.
So this was 2019-20, wasn't it? Season,
yes, that's correct. So yes, I've decided. I think I was a big fan of Aaron's back then. I still am. And,
good. Glad you clarified that. Yeah.
I obviously have the shirt. Unfortunately, we only moved house a few months ago, and I haven't really found anywhere.
It's big, isn't it?
It's huge.
I think it's too big for that bit of wall it's propped up against. So you're gonna have a job on there. Don't cut the edge off it or anything.
No,
Love that. Are we done then with or any more, Steve?
Just a couple more. Jeff Man 98 says hi, folks. It's the playoff final
Jeff.
on the 27th or 28th of May. Asking for a friend as we're obviously going to get second place. It's on the 29th, I think, bank holiday Monday. So just keep that in your diaries just in case. Neil Harris is on my side. Absolutely can. The PA system fully agree. Was a pleasure to lose it. So just me and you, Neil, I think, on that crusade. But we can get more. And Simon Copperwheat says, I would never boo you, Zoe. Wink smiley, as if to indicate he actually might.
Or so I say.
Wow. I thought we were going to end on such a positive note there. Or were we? Fine work. And I think that was basically Kenny Other Business. So in that case, we will call it time on another On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast that will avoid all black cats until Sunday. We're doing quite well there. It's only an hour and a few minutes. It's not bad for a 2-weekly catch-up. If you yet to do so, please make sure you subscribe via your podcast player of choice. The pod is available free for everyone on your usual player, and we stream the recording of the podcast live in video form on my social media channels. You may know that. That is each Monday evening when we're about. Have a search, and I'm sure you'll find them. Ratings and reviews, wherever prompted, are always hugely appreciated. And if you want to get in touch with any questions or topic proposals, feel free to sling me a direct message on Twitter. The handle is @MichaelJ.Bailey. As for this evening, a big thank you to our wonderful guests. Harvey, super debut. Thank you so much for joining us. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. Hope I lived up to the optimistic heights that we've created in this podcast tonight.
Are you still on the 88-point train?
100%. 100%. We're going all the way.
Answered your own question. Thanks so much for joining us, Harvey. Really appreciate it. I hope we get to do it again as well, please. Zoe, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
It was wonderful to be here again. Choo choo.
Choo choo. Don't have nightmares. That's certainly podcast ones. Steve. Stella.
Thanks, Michael. I didn't even get the opportunity to bring up Joe Rowe. It was such a great podcast, but maybe we can cover that next time.
You can listen to the scrimmage for that. Boys hung me out to dry live. Absolutely live.
Well, we'll leave it at that then. Let's not hang you out to dry for a second. You're already dry. It's fine.
All I will say is that I used the flame because I used the flames emoji because he'd done quite well to like progress to a point where he was in the first team. There was some thinking behind the flames emoji.
You meant well.
Well, yeah, it was also like an error. So, and I then sort of compounded the error by making a joke that Joe Rowe was training with the first team, and someone replied to that saying, "Oh, so when did he decide that he wanted to be known as Joe?" No, and then I had to explain my error because of that. It did lead to a really nice. It did lead to a really nice WhatsApp exchange with all of us over rhyming Norwich City, changing Norwich City players' names so that they both rhymed. It was really good. It was like one of my highlights of the week, but I was very easily entertained. Onel Hernandez, wasn't it? Or something?
Onel Hanonel, I think. Onel Hanonel was the
Angus Gus. It's a rich theme. Timu Puku.
Michael Bale. Does that work?
Steve.
Have I ruined it?
I think it just needed to be Norwich players. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
We've gone a bit insular there.
Sorry, if you're a Lons player, I forgot.
I didn't take the selfie. Let's end with the selfie. This doesn't work for the audio listeners, but that's okay because it'll be on the socials. Everyone, I need to show the shirts. Hang on. There we go. Everyone smile wholeheartedly. They can't see you. There we go. That's that. That was it. Yeah, we'll be back next Monday. I'll put brackets. I promise. So all being well.
Yes, all being well.
Michael Bailey promise. We will be back next Monday for the latest installment of the Norwich City on the Ball podcast. Is that the order? I don't think that is the order. But thanks as always, everyone, for listening. And until then, never mind the danger. Voulez-vous? And we are clear. We are still live. But we'll say goodbye to all of our viewers. Goodbye, everyone. I'm going to have to record the Gabrielle Sarah chant, I think, so that because I still can't get my head around the tune. Anyway.
You have to give us your rendition one day. You can do it with John Hare on the guitar or something.
Oh, that's a lovely idea. Do it on the podcast next time. That's amazing. I'm so excited about that.
I've got about 3 guitars you can choose from if you need one, Michael.
Oh, right. All round at Harvey's. We're going to do it.
I might give up.
No, it's Gabrielle, by the way. Right. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Really appreciate it, as always. Have a brilliant rest of your weeks. And we'll see you on Sunday and then next Monday for all of the football. Bye, everyone. Goodbye now. Take care. See you later. Have great times. All the best. Have fun.